capital gains tax in Canada gets criticized by the tech sector. Amazon drops 100,000 jobs while vastly increasing its use of robots. Tesla's luxury Cybertruck faces a huge recall. And AI is rapidly catching up to humans across benchmarks. All this and more on the Take the Money and Run edition of #Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. The Canadian government's plan to increase the capital gains tax rate has tech entrepreneurs and startups worried it could make it even harder to attract talent and funding in Canada's innovation economy. Under the new policy, the capital gains inclusion tax rises from 50% to 66% for those over $250,000 in annual capital gains. The change aims to generate billions in new tax revenue from wealthy Canadians, but critics are arguing that the higher taxes will disproportionately impact startups and tech firms who often use stock options and equity to compensate employees due to limited funding. Dr. Malik Shukiev is an economics professor at the University of Alberta, says stocks are really important for Canadian tech startups. They usually offer developers stock options as part of the compensation since they can't always pay top salaries. When those stocks rise in value and are eventually sold, employees now face paying a higher 66% capital gains rate on their profits. Shukiev says this puts domestic startups at a major disadvantage compared to their American competitors in the battle for top tech talent. It's going to be harder to motivate people to take the risk and join a startup when their potential upside from stock options is taxed so heavily. The policy does include exemptions like allowing entrepreneurs to earn up to $2 million in capital gains tax-free over their lifetime, but many entrepreneurs aim to build companies that are worth far more than that. Shukiev provides an example of a startup valued at $1 million that eventually sells for $100 million after becoming successful. Under the new rules, the $99 million capital gain would face the punishing 66% tax rate. He argues that this could severely dampen the incentive for bright innovators to take the risks necessary to build Canada's next billion-dollar tech companies. As Canada races to establish itself as an innovation leader, the capital gains tax increase has tech founders worried it will drive even more entrepreneurial talent to lower tax jurisdictions. E-commerce giant Amazon is rapidly expanding its use of robotics across its operations while reducing its human workforce over the past few years. The shift raises questions about the potential displacements in the future. Amazon now has over 750,000 robots deployed to work alongside its remaining 1.5 million human employees worldwide. That's a major increase from 520,000 robots in 2022 and just 200,000 in 2019. Meanwhile, the company's global workforce has shrunk by over 100,000 positions since 2021, when it employed 1.6 million people. The robots include new advanced models designed to speed up inventory management, and a bipedal robot that can move tote boxes in its fulfillment centers. Amazon says the robotics push improves efficiency, safety, and delivery speeds for customers. An Amazon spokesperson said deploying robots has led to the creation of new skilled job categories that previously didn't exist at Amazon. However, the massive scale of automation can't help but raise concerns over potential job losses, particularly for roles that can be easily automated. Research shows industrial robots negatively impact jobs and wages in areas where they're deployed. The trend feeds fears over technological unemployment and worsening income inequality. While Amazon says there are a number of new job categories created by this automation, critics question whether the quality and the growth of those roles can make up for jobs displaced by robots taking over more and more tasks. As one of the world's largest private employers, Amazon's robotic acceleration could foreshadow broader workforce impacts as AI and automation reshape entire industries. Tesla is recalling close to 4,000 of its newly released Cybertruck electric pickups due to potential safety defects that could cause unintended acceleration. According to documents from the U.S. safety regulators, the accelerator pedal can dislodge and become trapped, causing trucks to inadvertently speed up and increasing the risk of a crash. The problem stems from residual lubricant used during assembly that reduced the pedal's ability to retain its position properly. The recall covers nearly 3,900 Cybertrucks manufactured between last November and early April. Tesla says it's not aware of any collisions or injuries related to the pedal issues so far. Owners will be able to get the accelerator pedal replaced or reworked by Tesla free of charge to fix the defect. This recall is just the latest in a number of setbacks for Tesla, which began deliveries of its highly anticipated Cybertruck late last year following production delays and now numerous reports and complaints about the quality of these expensive vehicles. The criticisms come at a time when sales for the company are already softening, resulting in the cutting of 10% of its workforce. The latest AI Index report from Stanford University highlights the remarkable progress artificial intelligence has made in closing the gap with human performance. The comprehensive study details how AI systems have already surpassed human levels in areas like image classification, reading comprehension, visual reasoning, and language inference tasks. On math problems, AI scored 84% correct in 2023. The human benchmark is 90%, but this might underestimate the achievement. When you check the levels of problems that are being used, it's unlikely the average person could solve many of these math problems. For visual common sense reasoning, AI achieved 82% compared with 85% for humans. And again, it seems less remarkable to achieve this score, but when you think about what it means, the score means that AI can not only identify a picture of a cat as a cat, for example, but it can also derive conclusions from the context. In one test example, there are two people sitting on the sidewalk as someone walks past. The AI is asked how one of these people managed to become a few dollars richer. The AI correctly understood from the context, one person having a musical instrument near them, that they were busking and earned the money playing music. Considering that less than 2 years ago, this would have probably stumped even the best AI model, it's an incredible feat. While still trailing humans on certain complex cognitive benchmarks, AI's capability is advancing at a blistering rate. One issue now is that many tests are becoming obsolete as AI blazes past previous performance ceilings. Researchers are scrambling to develop new, more challenging benchmarks that can properly assess where AI still lags and where humans maintain an advantage. According to the report, there are still concerns about so-called AI hallucinations, or, as the report more correctly calls them, presenting false information as facts. The report noted this continues to be an issue, though large language models have made, again, enormous progress in this area. Text-to-image generation has also seen exponential gains. For anyone who has seen OpenAI's Sora, this is no surprise. But other tools like Midjourney have achieved photorealistic results in the last 2 years that would take a human artist far longer to accomplish. But there are still issues with text-to-image generation in common usage. Text within graphics tends to have frequent misspellings, you might have noticed this, and subtle errors that you might not catch immediately. A recent supposed photo put out by Trump supporters showing him praying in a church with a halo of light around him looked authentic until you counted his fingers and saw that he had 6 on each hand. AI has clearly made real impacts on productivity and quality of work in many industries, and the report cites a number of studies, but it also suggests that unregulated, or perhaps a better word might be unsupervised AI, can also lead to a lower quality of work. An interesting trend in the report shows the rapid commercialization of AI. In 2023, industry produced 51 notable machine learning models, while academia contributed only 15. There were also 21 notable models resulting from industry-academia collaborations in 2023, and that's a new high. One reason could be cost. The training costs of state-of-the-art AI models have reached unprecedented levels. For example, OpenAI's GPT-4 used an estimated $78 million worth of compute to train, while Google's Gemini Ultra cost $191 million for compute costs alone. Funding for generative AI surged, growing by more than 8 times from 2022 to reach $25.2 billion. As AI's capabilities expand across sectors, the index highlights emerging regulatory efforts, impacts on the workforce, and accelerated scientific breakthroughs enabled by AI systems. The report also notes that over the last year, the proportion of those who think AI will dramatically affect their lives in the next 3 to 5 years has increased from 60 to 66%, and 52% expressed nervousness towards AI products and services, marking a 13 percentage point rise from 2022. In America, Pew data suggests that 52% of Americans report feeling more concerned than excited about AI, rising from 38% in 2022. So not surprisingly, there are an increasing number of regulations aimed at trying to control and regulate the use and development of AI. According to the report, in 2023, there were 25 AI-related regulations, up from just one in 2016. And last year alone, the total number of AI-related regulations grew by 56%. There's a link to the full report in the show notes. At least one AI expert believes the issue of AI hallucinations, or more correctly stated, providing inaccurate answers, may be solved within a year. Raza Habib, a former Google AI researcher and co-founder and CEO of AI startup Human Loop, expressed optimism that AI hallucinations are obviously solvable within a year's time. Habib was one of 20 executives recently invited to a closed-the-door meeting with OpenAI's Sam Altman, where Altman reportedly shared OpenAI's progress and plans for the coming year. Habib says large language models initially demonstrate strong calibration between their confidence levels and factual accuracy. However, this correlation becomes undone during the fine-tuning process of training the models on human preferences. So, in the act of making them more human-like, we also give them a propensity to give inaccurate answers. By preserving the initial calibration, Habib believes the propensity for hallucinations can be greatly reduced. But Habib also argued that some level of hallucination may actually be desirable, especially for creative tasks where novel ideas are valued over strict factual accuracy. Speaking of inaccuracy, at the bottom of the page on a recent Forbes article reporting on a panel featuring Habib at a recent Forbes symposium, panelists weighed in on Air Canada's recent chatbot mishap where inaccurate information led a customer to purchase unnecessarily expensive tickets. But in the final line of the story, the article noted that the spokesperson for Air Canada had told Forbes the chatbot involved in the incident did not use AI. The technology powering it predated generative AI capabilities like ChatGPT and other large language models. I have to say, as we in the public try to get real information about the progress of AI, this isn't the type of thing that should get buried at the bottom of an article as an afterthought. Listeners may recall that we expressed reservations whether this was an AI system when we first heard the story, and it turns out we were right. We may not have the journalistic clout of a Forbes or a New York Times, but we have asked Air Canada to clarify this. We'll see when they get back to us. And again, I'm not being overly critical. We all work on tight deadlines from a variety of sources, and I'm sure we make mistakes too. But we don't correct them with a timid note at the end of a story. And if we missed a correction earlier, we apologize to Forbes. But this should have been a headline, not an end line. And that's our show for today. We'd love to hear your opinions as always, and you can reach me at therealjimlove@gmail.com or our new editorial address, editorial@technewsday.ca. If you caught the show on the weekend on quantum computing, I'd love to get your reaction to it. Our show notes are also posted at technewsday.ca or .com, take your pick, along with other stories. Check us out. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a marvelous Monday.